All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of the 2025 Point of the Plate webinar, Umpire Webinar Series, where we discuss some of the most important topics in the Baseball Alberta Umpire Program. Our purpose here tonight is to educate everyone, including players, coaches, off-field managers, and of course our umpires, on all the different aspects and initiatives happening in the Baseball Alberta Umpire community. My name is Brandon Strachey, and I'm the Provincial Supervisor of Umpires, filling in as host tonight for our communications lead, Jeff Chipley, who unfortunately is ill. And we figured we would start off tonight with a little intro video. I hope I saw in the chat most people were able to see it, maybe some weren't, but we did just play a video, a 2-minute video, showcasing what last year's 2024 Umpire Academy looked like. So that is our topic tonight, the latest and greatest umpire initiative that began last year, the Baseball Alberta Umpire Academy. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our guest tonight, who is going to walk us through the Umpire Academy, Mr. Rob Allen, our Baseball Alberta Instructor Development Portfolio Lead. Rob also sits on the National Committee with Supervisors, with the Supervisor Committee. Just a quick little intro here on Rob. Rob has a 39-year-old umpire career, which includes 6 Baseball Canada Championships worked and 5 international championships, including the 2017 U18 World Cup and the 2015 Pan American Games. Rob's also supervised at 12 Baseball Canada Championships and Blue Jays Showcase Academies. So welcome, Rob, and please take this away and talk to us about the Umpire Academy that you've brought from BC, one of your greatest ideas there, and made it work for us here in Alberta. So take it away, Rob.
All right. Thanks for the introduction, Brendan. So we're going to talk tonight about our Umpire Academy. This is our second year that we'll be hosting Umpire Academy. And if we can start the slideshow. Perfect. All right. So our agenda tonight is just basically to talk about the Umpire Academy and get more umpires applying. We've had actually quite a few people already apply, which is great. But we'd like to see as many of you as in Alberta apply. So this will give you a little information on what it's all about before you do apply. So the first topic will be what is the Umpire Academy, a little bit of a history of the Umpire Academy, which is very short because it's only been a year, but we can talk about that a little bit. The Umpire Academy events that we will have, and then a typical day during Umpire Academy, the application process, and so any questions at the end. So it won't be very long, but at the end, you'll be able to ask whatever questions you want about the Academy.
Rob, just before you move on, if people want to put their questions in the chat as they come to their mind, and so they don't forget, feel free to put them in, but we will leave questions, answers until the end to the questions. But feel free to flood the chat, and we'll try to get to as many questions as we can at the end of your presentation, Rob.
Perfect. All right. So basically, the first slide here, what is Umpire Academy? It's basically a mini professional umpire school that we try to run. We run 3 sessions throughout the year, or 3 events. And basically, we do it starting Friday night, and we go all day Saturday and almost all day Sunday. And it's just a weekend umpire school, basically. And we'll talk about some of the different things. We even have a schedule from last year I can show you in later slides. But it's just basically a mini umpire school where we're trying to teach as much as we can so we can accelerate your learning. So we have classroom sessions, cage work, field sessions, and live games that you'll be umpiring. Classroom sessions, we do usually about an hour and 15 minutes, maybe an hour and a half at most. And we do different topics like box, and we've done interference, obstruction, appeals, that type of thing will get taught in the classroom sessions. We do cage work where we work on your plate stance. We have a pitching machine, or sometimes we had Corey, I think, throw about 500 pitches the one weekend. But hopefully we have a pitching machine for both the first and the third event. And we work on your stance, and we work on your timing, and you're tracking the ball with your eyes and all that in the cage work. Then we do field sessions, which I think of all the different sessions, field sessions was surprisingly the guys learned a lot in those sessions, and they basically focused on the 2 umpire system early on in the year, and some focused on the 3 umpire system later in the year. And basically, we did drills after drill after drill where we simulated little plays where you're rotating and going out on fly balls and making judgments whether or not you should be going out on a ball and stuff like that. So guys were really starting to understand the 2 umpire system. Everybody umpires the 2 umpire system all the time, but just a little extra information on how to perfect the 2 umpire system is what we tried to do. The other thing that we did mid-season is you got to umpire in a provincial championship with a non-working supervisor. So in the either July or August, end of July or early August, you'll be assigned to a provincial championship, and it'll be all other academy students with you. And we also will have one non-working supervisor that will just be watching your games and giving you feedback at the end of the game. Little bit different than the other sessions. We wouldn't, you don't have classroom sessions or anything during the provincial championship weekend, but you do have a non-working supervisor that watches your games. Most of your expenses are paid, such as hotel, meals, stuff like that. But however, you don't get your umpire fees for your first tournament that you do. So the Doc Polotsky tournament, you would umpire 4 games in that, and that is a way for us to kind of pay for, no, not even pay it. It just pays a partial fee of what this costs, because it's fairly expensive for us to put on. So that's kind of your give back of your umpire fees for your first tournament that you work at. So you would not get your fees for that. But like I said, we put you up in a hotel if needed. We feed you the entire weekend. So breakfast is at the hotel. We feed you lunch at the ballpark. Usually we give you credit towards the food truck that might be at the ballpark. And then in the evenings, I think Friday night, we usually do a pizza night. And then the Saturday night, we do a big group dinner where we go to a restaurant. So that is all covered once you get there. And then the last thing is that we have a high student to instructor ratio. At these events, we would have a maximum of 8 students per event. And we would have anywhere from 4 to 6 instructors usually for any one event at any particular time. Sometimes even more when we're trying to do the field sessions. All right, and go on to the next one. So a little bit of the history of the Umpire Academy. We ran our first academy in last year in 2024. We had 10 students over the 3 events. So we did have to add a couple of students at the end of the year because of attendance and that. They couldn't make it the last weekend, a couple umpires. So we added 2 new umpires. So that's why there was 10 students, even though we only have 8 at each event. And this year we're planning to run the same 3 events that we did last year. And we're also going to run 2 events for returning students. So for the returning students, I think we're going to do a tournament in July, as well as they're going to do a provincial. So those are the 2 events that they are going to do. So just because you make it through academy doesn't mean this is a 1-year done thing. We're really trying to help you and mentor you through the next many years as you move up through the level 2, 3, and level 4 umpire system, right? So it's not like we just say, okay, you had your 1 year and you're gone. Once you're part of the academy, you'll be always part of the academy. So in the winter, we also ran some rules session by Zoom after that as well with the academy students. So we try to do some stuff throughout the year as well in the off season. All right, so I talked about the 3 academy events. These are the 3 events for this year. So I talked about the first one is coming up May 30th in Sherwood Park, the Doc Polotsky tournament. We do U13 AAA and U13 AA games. There's 4 diamonds there. We used 2 of the diamonds. And it worked out really well last year. They had, like I said, a cage session where we had pitching machines there, which was great to have actual live fast pitching. And then we had a little area that we set up with a little gazebo, and that was where we did some of our classroom work. and kind of where we were based out of for the weekend. So it worked out pretty good there that weekend. And then, like I said, you'll be assigned to a provincial either in July, late July, or early August, and that location is to be determined. And then the third event is at the end in August. Will be the Rawlings Cup, August 22nd to 24th, again in Sherwood Park. So again, that Rawlings Cup is just like the first event, the Doc Polotsky tournament, where it's classroom work, it's different classroom work, it's cage work, it's field sessions again. Some guys will be, if they're ready, we focus on the 3 umpire system in the third tournament. And yeah, so it turns out to be a really good event, building on the 2 events that you've already done previously throughout the year. So a typical day. So this is actually the schedule from last year that we had for both the Doc Polotsky tournament and the Rawlings Cup. So you arrive at 5 o'clock Friday. So you may have to miss school in the afternoon Friday if you have to travel far. But if you're in the Sherwood Park area, you won't have to. You could probably leave right after school, head over to Sherwood Park. And we start at 6 o'clock. So this schedule is for one particular umpire. So keep in mind at 6 o'clock, you'll either be doing like a cage session or you'll be umpiring the game. So this one umpire would do a cage session from 6 to 8. That'd be what we do is we divide you up into four umpires would be in cage and 4 umpires would be on the field doing 2 different games. After the games or cage session that night, we go back to the hotel and we ordered pizza that night and just got delivered to the hotel and ate there after the game. Saturday, we would start at 9 a.m. So 4 umpires would be umpiring games. So this umpire in particular would umpire the bases, and the other 4 umpires would be doing their cage session that they didn't do the night before. Then from 12 to 2, you'd be doing a field session. We just picked out one of the soccer fields out in the outfield there, out past the outfields, and we just simulated plays and worked on rotations and reading fly balls and etc. So that goes from about 12 to 2, 3 o'clock to 5. You umpire. This umpire would umpire a plate game, and then at 6 p.m. they would be a rules session on box, and then at 8:30, when everybody's done all their stuff for the day, we'd have a group dinner, and you can see there on the right, the picture on the right is where we had the group dinner last year. I think it was wings night. I remember eating too many wings that night. Sunday, we go from start at 9 a.m. again, and this umpire would umpire the bases, and then at noon, we do a rules session on appeals, and then umpire a plate game at 3 o'clock to finish off the weekend. So that's kind of the schedule and how both the first and the third event would look like. Obviously, the provincials weekend would look different because you're just umpiring games, and you would get the schedule from that non-working supervisor. But this is a typical day for the Umpire Academy. All right, so to apply, you can go onto the Baseball Alberta site and go to the umpire section, and then there's an Umpire Academy tab, and you can apply. You fill out a Google form, I believe it is, and the deadline is May 1st, so that's fast approaching, only 20 days away or so. So we've had, like I said, quite a few people already apply, which is great, but we'd like as many as possible. It says at the bottom, head to umpires.baseballalberta.com to register for the academy. You must have umpired at least 1 year, so this isn't for brand new umpires that have never umpired before. And you must be 16 years old or turning 16 this year. So I think that's a 2009 born. If you're 2009 or later, you can apply. If you're younger than that, we still want you. So, keep watching, and we plan to have this every year for as long as we can. And so once you're 16 years old, you can also apply. All right, so that's it for my formal part of my presentation, which wasn't very formal. But do we have any questions or?
Yeah, anybody that wants to fire in some questions in the chat. I got a couple here, Rob, that came through. What's you kind of touched on it, but I think it would be really good for people to understand. And the word you used, and I think it's the word that we all agreed is truly the right word, because it meets umpires where they're at. And it was to advance their careers, I think, on one of the first slides or whatever. So the question is, like, what's the goal? What do you come out as after you go through the Umpire Academy? And I think maybe just touch on how we have different umpires at different levels when they come in, and what's our goal for them when they leave after a year or after a couple of years. How does that look?
So the goal is basic. What I think you used the word is accelerating your learning. So
correct. Yeah.
We're trying to. Our goal here is to, you come in as a certain level umpire, and by the end of the year, you've skyrocketed. Instead of just being gradually progressing, you've skyrocketed. And for each umpire, that could be different. It could be that now you're going to be in level 2 program and you're ready for level 2. It could be level 3, or possibly even going into the national program. But I don't know if we have a set end goal. It's just having you start at one level when you walk in day one. And we saw this a lot last year, where umpires came in some very green umpires, and the rate of it, even through the first weekend, that they improved was amazing. So that's our goal, is to accelerate your learning and have you become a much better umpire at the end of the year than when you started out with. Instead of just, maybe if you just did your own thing, you were slightly better umpire. If that makes any sense.
I think that's perfect. That's the answer that when we've sat down and discussed this, that we've come up with is what we want. But a lot of our umpires are, I'm at level 2.1. I've done my first level 2, and I really want to get into level 3, or I really want to get in the national program. Can I get there faster? And the answer is that this would definitely help you. Like, and we're not promising anything. It's not a quantitative process, but it's qualitative. You're going to get better because of this, and your career is going to advance faster, probably because you're in the Umpire Academy. A couple other questions that have come in here. If I did apply, when are we making selections, and when will people be notified?
So notification will start of the people that get accepted. Will start happening, I would say, very early in May, because we need to let everybody know and have everybody accept, because that other tournament's not very far away. For last year, I did not let anybody know if you didn't get accepted. So I may try to do that this year, where I contact everybody if I can, and say, hey, you haven't been accepted. However, so I would think that would be later May, probably mid-May, that I would let people know that they're not accepted, because I have to go through the list, and sometimes people can't have, even though they've applied, don't accept, and so then I have to go to the next person. So you won't know right away if you haven't been accepted, but I will try to make an effort to let everybody know whether they've been accepted or not.
Okay. The next question is regard to availability, and this is a specific question, but I think it's a good part to talk about too, in terms of commitment for the whole weekend, in terms of days. What if I can't make a Sunday, or commitment for the 3 events too? Do I have to commit to all 3? What if I can only make one event? Maybe just want to talk about our expectations and commitment.
So for sure, for one event, you have to be available for starting Friday at 5 and going right through the weekend. If you can't make part of that weekend, we need that commitment that you have the entire weekend available for us, because otherwise there'll be certain stuff that you'll be missing. And also we won't be able to cover some of our games that we've promised that we could cover. and have to bring in some other umpires. So we want you to commit to at least a tournament. And if you can't make all three events, still apply. It asks you which events you can make. Our preference will go to those. If we have a whole bunch of people that can make all three events, our preference would go to those umpires that can make all three events, mainly because we want to see at the beginning of the year and then another event and then a third event so that we can see the progress of the umpire. But we're not saying that if you can't make the third event that you can't apply anyhow. And we'll also, have you, even if you apply, we'll send an invite for you for the off-season stuff, for the Zoom meetings. So you'll still be part of the academy, but maybe not just in those three events. Like I said, preference would be given to someone who can make it to all three events. But for sure, we have to have at least a commitment of the entire tournament from Friday night through to Sunday night.
I think when we talked about, developing this idea, that one of the adaptations that we made for Alberta was that we wanted this to be continuing education. And it wasn't just one extra umpire clinic that they did, in April, and now they're going to do again, that this whole purpose was to continue their education and scaffold their learning so that they are improving throughout the summer, and that we're able to check in with them at multiple points throughout the summer. And so that's the point of this intensity. The intensity of this academy is that it's not just a one clinic similar to what you would have gone through in April or March. This is kind of big time, right? The next level stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing that we do is we assign an instructor to you as a mentor, and basically throughout the year we'll be checking in with you. Hey, how's this season going? Or maybe there's a game in the area, I'll come out and watch, or whatever. And so we don't just, you go to the tournament and you're forgotten until the next tournament. We try to check in one or two times throughout the season as well with you to make sure things are going well. And then obviously if there's any point where there's questions on something throughout the year, that person is your contact person. That instructor is the one that you would contact first and say, hey, I had this situation. I wasn't sure if I did it right or whatever. So yeah.
It's a good point too. Just a lot of discussion here, and I think that questions are being answered in the comments in terms of age restrictions and just things like that. But one thing I don't know if we did touch on was the top end age restriction. We talked about 16 or turning 16 in the current year. Was there an upper age limit?
Yeah, so there is no upper age limit, but being just frank with you guys, our target is kind of that younger age, that up and coming umpire, but that doesn't mean that you have to be in that age group. And then I believe what our plan would be in the future is to run maybe an event that has newer umpires, but started at a later age, and let's say more mature. I wouldn't want to say old umpires, but they're new to umpiring. They're a level 1 or a level 2 umpire, but maybe they're 40 plus or even older. And we might have an event. So if we get enough people applying that are in that kind of target age, we may run an event of that target age group in the future. It might not be the first couple of years like we're doing right now, but eventually I'd like to get to that where we could have and I think BC once ran one like this where it was level 1, level 2 umpires, guys just starting out, but they weren't in that 16 to 25 range. They were in that 40 plus range. So I would say apply, and that way we know that there is an interest for that, and maybe we can run an event one year or maybe it's a secondary event that goes on, or that has like I say, more mature umpires.
Couple questions related to the 1 year of experience. So I think just generally, what's the philosophy behind making sure that umpires have already spent a year in the program or on the field? And baseball or fastball was an interesting one as well here. What if it was a fastball year of experience?
I would say 1 year of umpiring experience, whether it's fastball or baseball. For myself, I started umpiring fast pitch originally, so I would be fine with if make an exception for 1 year of fast pitch. The idea for not having like first year umpire that this is their first year is that doing the tournament. So you're doing U13 AA and AAA. We don't want to put you in a situation where you're going to fail and maybe not ready for the level of play. So we want to make sure that you can do U13 AAA without getting yourself, say, in trouble and feeling overwhelmed, right? Because that's going to be the learning is not going to be there if you're struggling to keep up with the play, and I just don't think it'd be a very positive experience. So that's why we don't want brand new umpires. We want some umpires with a little bit of experience that we can accelerate their learning. Once you've done your 1 year and your level one, and you've done a bunch of community ball the 1 year, and you think you're ready, then yes, then apply.
Yeah, and I think just even our content, our curriculum, for lack of better words, is kind of next level stuff. And if they haven't gone through or just maybe gone through their first clinic and haven't actually practiced any of the things, then our content and our curriculum maybe isn't suited for that, because we're trying to do, like you said, this advancement. And although we're trying to meet umpires at the level where they're at, last year was a great example of having umpires that are going to a national championship already after 1 year versus umpires that we pulled along the process and turned out to be very good rep level umpires by the end. But there's so many different levels that we tried to create a general kind of curriculum that hits where our umpires are at. And I think a beginning umpire needs to have those reps before they're ready for the content and curriculum. Okay, couple other questions. One was about kind of location. So you talked about you travel people in and hotels. Kind of just the question is, I live in small town in the kind of a small corner of the province. Can I still apply for this, and can I still get there and make this thing happen?
Yeah, so for sure, if you have umpired for a year, you can apply. I live in a small town myself, in Carstairs, so it doesn't matter where you live. You will have to get to the events yourself, but once you get there, we will take care of you, like I said, for food, hotels, everything. So yeah, we want umpires from all over the province and all the little different corners of the province to go to academy. And then, because you know what, when you go back home, what you learned at academy, you're going to spread hopefully to the umpires that you umpire with locally as well. So and it's kind of a trickle down effect where we're hoping that not only will we make you a better umpire, but you'll hopefully then make somebody else a better umpire in your community as well. So it doesn't matter where you're from, as long as you're in Alberta, you can apply.
I think our numbers were if I was to just regionize last year's recruitment group, I think it was something like 3 kind of Calgary-ish umpires, 3 kind of from the central area, and 4 in the Edmonton and surrounding area, if that sounds right to you. So
yeah, and there was definitely some from smaller communities through, especially the Central Alberta guys.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so just again clarifying the experience. So they need to have worked a year of baseball or of ball. They have to have umpired on the field for a year before they're eligible to be accepted. Okay.
I see one about uniforms with the new Baseball Alberta logo. That's not needed. You just come in whatever you normally umpire in. Obviously, it's the best if you have some gray pants that you can cover your shin guards with. If you have, just a black shirt or whatever and a black hat, that's perfect. That's all you need. It doesn't have to be some of the new Baseball Alberta uniforms, even though those are pretty spiffy. I bought some myself, but is not needed for this event. You come in whatever you normally umpire in.
That's good. Provincial championship. If they work the provincial weekend, you talked about forfeiting umpire fees for the first weekend, if to help offset some costs. I also think there's a sense of, a little bit of commitment there that says that I wanted to take the initiative to invest in my umpire development a little bit as well. I think that's part of it.
Sure.
But with the provincial championships, that they might work quite a few more games than just 4 throughout a weekend, their crew. Are they going to get paid for that?
Yes. So for the provincial weekend, you get paid for it. If whatever you would normally get paid at provincial is exactly what you get paid, including travel to attend that provincial. And same with the third event, the Rawlings Cup. You would also make your game fees, whatever games that you umpire. Now, again, the Rawlings Cup, you would only umpire 4 games. Like I say, provincial, you might umpire 6 or 7 games possibly where you would make more money. So, and Brandon's right about we thought about charging a flat fee out front of a few $100s for this. Or I think the better idea was to, you don't have to pay for it, but you to help offset the cost of this, and for the amount of money for the 4 game fees, you're getting some of the best instructors in Canada, and some of the best instructing you can get in Canada, not only just Alberta, but all of Canada, for one weekend. So it's worth more than 4 game fees, and it costs us a lot more than that. By the time we pay for hotels and meals and instructors' fees and everything else, the cost is quite large. Plus, you will get some swag, some Umpire Academy's hoodie and shirt, stuff like that. So there is a fair amount of cost to this, so that's why we're trying to offset it. But we definitely think that you'll get a lot more of it. And if you're committed to umpiring, you won't miss out on the 4 game fees that you might miss.
That's a great point, Rob. This is where we start to make that, like you said, that investment into our development as umpires, right? And say that we're into this. We want to be umpires, and I'm proving that by joining the Umpire Academy. So
yeah, and definitely if you were to go to the States and say do a little weekend umpire thing, it would cost you a fair amount of money, not only just to register, but then to travel there and fees. So this way we take away the hotel costs and everything else, but yeah, you do have to pay a couple $100 in game fees to us to help offset some of the costs.
Good. Last call here for questions from the group. For anybody that's still with us, we'll wrap it up here pretty soon if there's no other questions. Last call on any questions for Rob and the Umpire Academy. Okay, Rob, I'm not seeing anything come up here, and you answered some of just the thoughts that I had as we went through. Sorry, just thought there was maybe a question there that came through. No. Yeah, I don't think so. All right. So yeah, Rob, thanks very much for your time tonight. And I think this is a great initiative that you've brought to us, and that we've really tweaked to make it work for Alberta umpires. And the payoff for this Umpire Academy is going to be seen in the Baseball Alberta world. Not just next year, not just the year after that, but the more we continue to do this, the payoff's going to be better umpires across our province. And like you said, when umpires go back to their home communities from this academy, they take the learnings with them and they make everybody better. So it's a little bit of learning by osmosis for all of our hopefully over 1,100 umpires going to be this year in the province. And I think this is just one of the greatest initiatives that we've really come up with, and it's narrow focused, but the reward is super big. So I want to thank you just on behalf of the Baseball Alberta Umpire Committee for all your hard work in putting this together and your leadership on this initiative, Rob. So thanks for tonight, and I want to thank anybody that was on for joining us. Next week is the next point of the plate, which is going to be myself speaking on just kind of some of the other initiatives that are coming in Baseball Alberta, and give you guys the stats, kind of the state of the umpire program that we've done now for 4 or 5 years. So that'll be next week's point of the plate, and then we run probably about 3 more point of the plate sessions on different topics throughout the off season here as we gear up for a start here in May, and even a couple sessions throughout May just to keep people interested, even when they might not have games that they're working on those nights. So feel free to sign up and join other point of the plate sessions as they become available. So thanks, Rob. And I think on that note, guys, we're good for tonight. So thanks everybody for joining us. Good night.
Night.